Speaker.
I call the Honourable Member Chester Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and congratulations on your appointment. First time I've been in the House that I've had the opportunity to say that. Good to see you back. I rise to speak in respect of the Legal Services Bill, and I want to acknowledge the comments of the previous speaker and to acknowledge that the concerns that he's raised are concerns that are held widely across the legal sector and were well discussed within the Justice and Electoral Committee. I want to congratulate the committee on the work they did in the consideration of this bill. Those of us who have worked as legal aid providers and as duty solicitors around our courts in New Zealand can think of times when we were taking instructions under a tree while it was raining down outside, or leaning in the doorway of the very cramped public area outside the court, trying to deal with people and trying to work with them in circumstances that were trying to access the justice that they were entitled to in our free and democratic society. But we also have to take cognizance of those matters that were raised by Dame Margaret Baisley in her report, and I do take the point made by Charles Chauvel earlier that it was very much anecdotal comments that were made, and to I guess to my disappointment tended to feed a healthy appetite out there in the general public who don't normally interact with the courts, or at least within the criminal courts anyway, an appetite for belief that those within the legal fraternity are lower than the most low. The fact is that people within the legal fraternity have to work within very tight bounds and frequently make a significant contribution to the access to justice out of their own pocket by way of time and services that they can't claim for under the legal aid system and have no way of funding. And I think if we looked across the rest of the economy in New Zealand and expected a similar level of altruism from the ability of various businesses and practitioners, then we would be found to be wanting. The fact is that there are a number of areas within our current legal aid provision that need to be addressed, that loopholes will be exploited, and given the way that they are exploited and the high-profile way that these are exposed, bring the legal fraternity into disrepute, albeit, as I've already said, the public really want to believe that it is already there. So the bill seeks to disestablish the Legal Services Agency and fold it back into the Ministry of Justice, as has been previously done and as it worked particularly well, and establishes a Legal Services Commissioner. It introduces a new quality assurance framework that will enhance the confidence of the public in the knowledge that those who are providing legal aid services on payment from the taxpayer and on behalf of society at large will be assessed and will be providing good legal services for those who they are working for. It will allow the Secretary for Justice the flexibility to establish different legal services and deliver services in different ways, and the new ways and creative and innovative ways of providing access or enhancing and facilitating the access to justice is something we need to do, bearing in mind the spread and the changes we have in population bases around the country. The bill allows for the streamlining eligibility for low-cost criminal cases in summary jurisdictions, and it allows the Secretary for Justice to contract community law centres to provide legal services. This is something that the community law officers are willing to do, and the community is willing to have them provide those services for them. And lastly, it replaces the Legal Aid Review Panel with the Legal Aid Tribunal, which will consider applications for review of legal aid applications. And I find that this last point is extremely important, bearing in mind the gatekeeper role that Legal Services Agency have at present and how difficult it can be for a provider of legal aid to access the most minimal of funds in order to assist access to justice for the people that they work for. Bearing in mind the public largely believe that those who appear before the court are already guilty and should be extended very little in the terms of public time, energy or taxpayer money. So I do commend this bill to the House. I'm grateful for the Labor Party in their assurance that they will be supporting it at this third reading, and I commend the Minister on the job that he has done in preparing it for consideration of the Parliament. Thank you.
I call the honourable member